Hello and welcome on Good Morning KU. I am Farzin Vasugian.
I'm Jackson Long, and welcome to the first Monday morning edition of Good Morning KU for this spring semester. Of course, the big game last night, Super Bowl 48.
Yes.
The Seattle Seahawks take on the Denver Broncos in a matchup between the number one offense versus the number one defense in the NFL. And really a surprising game, I think, after watching it last night. So let's take a look at some of the highlights from the game.
Manny Ramirez snapped it before Manning was ready. Next Seahawks possession with some quality field position.
And it happened right away, too. There was that safety, of course, that took place, and then Seattle just takes over there.
There you see Percy Harvin going around the right end. He had a big game. Of course, later, the big kickoff return to start the second half. That was really a momentum killer. You thought maybe after a long halftime, Denver could maybe figure a couple things out, but that play right off the bat was really big for Seattle.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson had a great day, too.
Russell Wilson, 2 touchdowns. He could have been an MVP candidate, but it seemed like naturally it should have gone to someone on that Seattle Seahawks defense who just played lights out.
But give credit to Russell Wilson in that offense. No sacks, no turnovers in that game. That's all you can ask for in a championship setting. That's exactly what you need right there.
There you see Cam Chancellor with the first half interception, one of 4 turnovers for the Broncos. Really surprising the way Peyton Manning handled the defense. It was almost a perfect game plan from Seattle.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic of the Denver Broncos to go out there and commit 4 turnovers. You don't ever see that from this Broncos team throughout the season. Yes, they led the league in fumbles, but this is a Broncos team that was just dominant all season long, and it was weird to see them come out flat.
Second quarter, it's 3rd and goal, but there's a flag, so the Seahawks get new life on the 1-yard line, and Marshawn Lynch will punch it in for a touchdown here. And it just seemed like everything was going against the Broncos early.
Yeah, and that right there, I think that was the seal breaker along with the kick return touchdown right there. I mean, the Denver Broncos just dominate. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks, dominate on all cylinders, offensively, defensively, and special teams, scoring on all 3 phases. And when you do that, especially in a championship setting, that not only is that going to take away momentum from the Broncos, but that's going to increase your chances of winning the game.
It was a one-sided affair the whole time. And Denver didn't even score until late in the 3rd quarter. So it was really interesting to see kind of the matchup between the number one defense and the number one offense. And the Legion of Boom really proved to be too much for Peyton Manning, the Broncos offense, to handle.
Yeah, and you look at Peyton Manning, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, was sacked once in this game. The Broncos rushing as a team, not too good. 14 carries, 27 yards. Yes, you have Peyton Manning on your team. It's a one-dimensional type of offense. The rushing game isn't great. And they had to abandon it early on because they were trailing by a lot. And Seattle was just able to take over from there and just cruise to victory. And that's something, maybe some people thought the Seahawks would win, but not in this manner.
No, I think this was a surprise to everyone. So not really as much of an entertaining Super Bowl. But let's talk about the flip side, I guess the entertainment value is the commercials. So before we head to break, what was your favorite commercial from the day?
I like Tim Tebow's commercial, the T-Mobile commercial, where he talked about how it was hard to get a contract. I think people know right there. He has a sense of humor, obviously.
Self-depreciating humor that I think everyone can enjoy. I like the Pistachios commercial with Stephen Colbert and the bald eagle that was dressed up in the suit. I thought that was a good one for them. So we're going to take a break, and we'll go back with Stephanie after the break, and she brings on a musical guest to Good Morning KU. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Bickle, and I'm here with guest Matt Reynaud. He's very involved in music, so why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do with it?
Well, here in the Lawrence community, there's a lot of live musical content, whether you like bluegrass, rock and roll, or hip-hop, or any kind of electronic genre. And there's a lot of room for people to record, not so much room for recordings to be mastered, especially since the famous Red House recording studio and some other recording outlets have, gone their way. So I help friends, family, coworkers master recordings and get those recordings ready for CD production, so you have consistent levels, so that your iPhone headphones sound just as good as your giant stereo at home. Okay. In simple terms.
And what got you involved in this?
I had a lot of downtime from the employment opportunity that presented itself and led to my 2-year degree decision over my 4-year degree decision here at KU back in 2004. With this downtime, I had to kind of channel my creative outlet into a productive and a financially productive outlet. So trying to find a way to make money while being a DJ and a music fan here in Lawrence led to what I do.
Okay, I heard there's an event coming up, and can you tell me a little bit about that?
We have Art in the Park, a part of the March Madness a capital ART included in March coming up in the next couple months here in South Park. It's the 53rd annual Art in the Park event. This week at the Art Center also you can catch a celebration of William Burroughs' contribution and legacy here in Lawrence, Kansas, and the Whole Beat Poet Literary Society with a lot of multimedia and video intensive displays if you go down to New Hampshire Street and brave past the road barricades.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Matt, for joining us on Good Morning KU.
Thank you.
Actor Philip Seymour Hoffman was found dead on Sunday morning of an apparent drug overdose. According to FoxNews.com, a friend found Hoffman's body alone in his bathroom with a heroin-filled needle in his arm. The Oscar-winning actor was 46 years old and was best known for his portrayal of Truman Capote in the 2005 film Capote. The 19-year-old woman charged with killing a Lawrence businessman is scheduled to be in court today. Sarah Brooke Gonzalez McClin will appear in Douglas County District Court this afternoon. She was arrested in Florida but declined to fight extradition and is being held in Douglas County Jail on a $1 million bond. She is accused of killing 52-year-old Harold Sasko, the owner of Cece's Pizza in Lawrence. Enjoy the sunshine today. The weather forecast for the Kansas City area is predicting anywhere from 4 to 9 inches of snow by tomorrow night. It is supposed to start snowing overnight tonight, with the heaviest accumulations expected to the north. High temperatures today will be in the lower 30s, while only reaching the middle 20s tomorrow. That's all we have for the news today. Stay warm, and after a break, we'll be back with Jackson and Farzine.
Welcome back to more sports. Of course, the local event, KU basketball takes on Texas last Saturday. Not the expected result for the Jayhawks in that one.
No, not at all. Especially with the way KU started off, it was just a great start in conference play at 1.1, 4 consecutive games against ranked teams. Let's take a look at the highlights from this past weekend. Kansas and Texas in Austin. The Jayhawks struggled in this game, unable to get anything going early on. There you see Texas going out there making some noise early, and this is just a game where KU really got. I mean, they just struggled defensively. Really,
and Wayne Selden was really the only bright spot. It reminded me kind of the TCU game last year where very small amount of points scored in the first half, and Andrew Wiggins, of course, didn't make a shot until about 12 minutes left in the second half. And if that's not falling for you, then the Jayhawks offensively are going to have some problems.
Yeah, Brennan Green was the only one who had a three-pointer for the Jayhawks in the first half. And then you look at Andrew Wiggins, just his day overall, not the type of performance we've seen from Wiggins as of late. 7 points, fouled out in this game. Looking at Texas, I mean, defensively, a really good game for Texas. We'll look at the stat sheet in just a moment, but just looking at Holmes, a great game for him. 3 blocks, 22 points.
Holmes and Ridley inside were really disrupted Joel Embiid, who had played well, and he finished with just 8 points because he hadn't seen, I think, the size, length, and really is a big body down low that definitely can make an impact.
Yeah, and I think we've got the stat sheet up for you also here. Just looking at some of the numbers, as we mentioned, Wiggins did foul out, had only 7 points in this game. Other statistics, Texas, 12 blocks in this game. And we kind of mentioned, Joel Embiid was limited in this game, and a big part of that was because Texas, was able to just come out and stand strong defensively.
Definitely the lengthiest team that KU's played so far, and it did give them some trouble. It's still 7-1 in conference play, so nothing that the Jayhawks are too worried about. They have a game lead on Texas, but they were going into the game with the opportunity to extend their conference lead to 3 games over each opponent because Iowa State took down Oklahoma. But definitely keeping the Big 12 race alive for Texas.
Yeah, and we'll touch on Baylor in just a second, but just to look at the Big 12, Kansas is 7-1. Texas, Oklahoma both have 6 wins. Texas 6-2, Oklahoma 6-3, and then you have Kansas State and West Virginia, the next 2 teams, 5-4 in conference play. Kind of a surprising result in the conference so far. There you see the top 5 teams, but Kansas has done a really good job standing on top, and they've been on top for basically the entire time in conference play.
They had a really front-loaded schedule, and so they're going to get a little bit of a break now and play some of the easier teams. But at the back end, there's some challenging games. March 1st against Oklahoma State is going to be a big one now that it's only a one-game lead in the conference.
Yeah, and that could really make a big difference down the stretch. So Bill Self, I'm sure he's telling those guys, hey, look, every game matters at this point. And overall, getting ready for Baylor, I think one of the key points for this Baylor game is keeping an eye on Jefferson. Leads the team in points with 12.5 points per game. Also leads the team in rebounds, 8.4 rebounds per game. So you've got to make sure you got Embiid, Wiggins, someone on Jefferson, try to limit him in that game on the road in Waco.
And Baylor's coming off a big-time win over Oklahoma State on Saturday. So, a team that had already 5 losses in the Big 12, now flipping the script and beating one of the better teams in the league. Everyone can win in this league. Maybe TCU is the exception, but each team is capable of beating the top teams night in and night out.
Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about KU football. Of course, this Wednesday is National Signing Day. Charlie Weis will have his press conference over at the KU football complex. And I want to touch on this with you, Jackson, because you did commit to KU at one point to play football. I'm just curious, these kids here who are getting ready to make this transition, they have a lot to, they've got to do their research. I'm curious, what was the deciding factor for you in trying to pick KU?
Each kid is different. Some guys are going to be from Texas and Florida, and proximity's an important factor. So, some guys are, I want to stay home. If mom's good cooking, you want to be home and be able to go over Thanksgiving break. But there's guys who come to KU and they can't travel home for Thanksgiving. And so that's kind of one of the give and takes. So proximity is a big thing. And I was from Kansas City, so it was, an hour drive seems very, very nice for me. But you want to feel at home because you spend your whole life with this team. And it's a 24-hour, those are your friends, that's your friend group, that's who you hang out with. So you want to feel welcome, and you want the coaches to welcome you, and definitely the players as well. So it's kind of finding that fit. You want to think of it as a let's hang out, and what kind of the close-knit group do you want? And then that'll transition well into finding a place that these players really like. But it is a huge decision, and it's only been hyped up more and more with all this Rivals.com and all the other recruiting outlets that really push the information up on the recruiting.
Now, the thing about KU football is it's not a very dominant football school. What do coaches, and I know you were recruited by Reynaud Gill, but Charlie Weis and all of his assistants who go out there and try to bring in players, what's the selling point to try to convince players that they should come to Kansas?
Well, it's pretty simple. You have an opportunity to play early, and it's because with KU not having a tremendous amount of success in the past 4 years, there's an opportunity to compete for a starting spot, whether it's on an offense, defense, or special teams. But they said, hey, you're going to be open to some playing time, and if you come in here and work hard, then you absolutely will get that. So that's definitely the biggest thing. And I think a lot of the better players that come to KU in the last class and this class were thinking, hey, this is an opportunity where I can help the team out early and make an impact. And I think that was a major selling point for most of the recruiting that KU has done.
The last question I want to ask you, when you look at recruiting, KU is going to be losing James Sims to graduation, a big hole at the running back spot now, which was basically a majority of their offense. How do you focus on that in recruiting to try and fill some of those big voids? Because Charlie Weis is a big fan of JUCO transfers.
Well, the JUCO transfers give you some of that immediate experience, and you've seen Bill Snyder do that over at Kansas State, bringing in a lot of JUCO transfers, and it's the experience factor that comes in early, and we did that a lot last year at KU. But really getting players that know how to play and can play early, especially with this KU team that needs a lot of help. So that's a major factor for Charlie Weis, and he's a great recruiter, and he's known for that, and he's got an NFL mind, and he also pushes the NFL atmosphere, and so that's another selling point. Is head coach Charlie Weis has coached in the NFL. He was offensive coordinator for the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And then Dave Campo was the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and he's the defensive coordinator. So a lot of NFL experience on that staff, and that's a major selling point to these players is we can teach you how to play and practice in an NFL atmosphere and prepare you for the next level.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. You mentioned those two coaches, so many Super Bowl rings between those coaches combined. This week, National Signing Day, Charlie Weis will have his press conference on Wednesday at 1 p.m. at the KU football complex, and the full list of KU commits will be available at that time. That'll do it for this edition of Good Morning KU. I'm Farzin Vasugian.
I'm Jackson Long, and thank you for tuning in. And tune in next week, same time, same place for Good Morning KU.